5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Live, live, live. Good night again. Yeah, I'm double live and double vibing today. Good night, entities, energies, lovelies, bodies of light, seekers, and sojourners of truth, especially my melanated people and anybody else that's really digging deep to Sankofa back. My Sankofa people that want to Sankofa and go on back. Miss Renata, the Queen Miss Renata, who always, I really do this for her a lot, because I know she's like waiting on the Sankofa, and I know I haven't done it in 2 weeks, but here I am under this beautiful moon. It's about to be a full moon, and I'm going to play a little music to get y'all notified. But before I do, as I was setting up, let me show y'all something. See if y'all notice something on my little big shiny forehead here. Y'all see how bright the sun is, right? Look at this. Oh, there go Queen Miss Renata. Look at this, Miss Renata, right? Look at my forehead. Right about there. You see the glare? This is just to show y'all how the moonlight is beaming. Look at the glare on my forehead. Like, I'm just feeling it on my crown. This is how much the light is beaming. I thought somebody had a magnifying over my head while I'm setting up. I'm like, what's this glare? And then I looked up and I was like, oh snap. The moon is piping, beaming on me. So y'all get out and get this, do some moon sitting, right? Anyway, this is not that type of live. I did that earlier. This is Sunday, Sankofa Sunday live, brought to you by Miss Renata West. Peace, love, and light queen. So in the meantime, until some people get notified, Leroy and them, Yasef, Clay, all those, my regular Sankofas, we haven't done one in a while. So let's go, let's vibe. Get your dancing up, Miss Renata, while we rally round. Still close. Old school.
Rally round the flag, rally round the red, gold, black and green. Rally round the red, gold, black and green. Marcus say, red for the blood, gold like the river. Marcus say, green for the land, Africa. Marcus say, yellow for the gold that they stole. Marcus say, black for the people looted from. They took us away, captivity. Required from us a song. Right now, man say, repatriate. Patience have now long time gone. Fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, everyone. 400 million strong. Ethiopia stretch forth her hands. Closer to God we Africans. Closer to God we Africans. Closer to God we stand in our hearts. Is Mount Zion now you know. See the lion. Is Mount Zion now you know. How can we sing in a strange land?
Sing in a strange land.
Don't want to sing in a strange land.
Live in a strange land.
Liberation, true democracy. One God, one aim,
One what?
one destiny. Rally round the red. For the blood that flowed like the river. Rally round the green for the land. Africa. Rally round the yellow for the gold that they stole. Rally round the we the black people. Remember when we used to dress like kings.
Dressed like kings.
Conqueror of land.
Conqueror of land. Remember. Can we sing in a strange land? Sing in a strange land. In a strange land. Sing in a strange land. Come on, my people. Liberation through democracy. One God, one aim. One destiny. Running on the red, gold, black and green. Running on the red, gold, black and green. Hey, Dale. Running on the red. Africa. Africa. Running on the red. Let me stop it right there. Rights and humanity. Come rally, come rally, come rally. Come rally. I was going to stop it, but I got to play it out whenever it still posts. I just got to play it out. My old schoolers know this. The throwbacks, old Rastas. So, love, light, peace, blessings, happy Sunday. As I said, it's Sankofa Sunday. So, for those who don't know, Sankofa is standing in the present while looking back in the past and retrieving, rewriting, unlearning to relearn the truth of what is and bringing that forward. Hence, the bird looking back, getting the new egg, retrieving it and bringing that forward. And this is why I'm all for a Sankofa healing, so that we can go forward in that. So, but before I go into this, I must say, Miss Renata, as you sent me this image of the Sankofa bird, for the first time I looked at this in a different way. So there are two ways to Sankofa, because if you notice your image and go back and look at it when you get a chance, in that image, the bird is actually picking up a new egg and then taking it back and dropping it on the back. When I first learned about Sankofa, it was in the way that I just explained it to you. And neither is right nor wrong. It goes both ways. Either way, it has something to do with looking back and something new, carrying something new, whether it's bringing it something new to the back or looking in the back and rewriting and coming back forward with something new, that is the original way it was told to me. In a Black History course or club that I was in is when I learned about that actual meaning in that manner. However, the image that you showed to me today, it sparked something different because it shows it picking it up and dropping it back. Had no idea, right? I didn't know till I took like a double, triple look, and I was like, wait a minute, the bird is not picking it up from the back. It's picking up in front of it and looking back and dropping it on the back. So here's another thing. So there's a double Sankofa going on here, and it works either way. The way that you showed it, and I'm just giving you my third eye explanation as it came to me. The way you showed it is if in the now, it is when we are already in the now and we get newfound information, and that new information in where we are now, we are carrying that back. We're implanting that new information, going back behind us and dropping it, going back to where there was some type of old perspective, old thinking that didn't work. Greetings, Clay. Some old paradigm that no longer works. And so this is helping to transcend that old storyline, that old narrative, that old whatever it is. So Sankofa could be done either way. You can have something new and go back, and I'm going to call that Sankofa forward. So those of you who know, who are with me when I say Sankofa back, you're going to know that that means that we're looking back to go and retrieve something and bring something new forward. We are looking back. That's more like shadow working. And very similar to how I even work with the energies with the full moon and the new moon. Just as the full moon is more about manifesting and bringing something new, implementing something new in, that's like the Sankofa forward, where the egg, you have something new and you're bringing that new thing, in, back. That's the one I do with the new moon. The one that I do, very similar to the one that I do with the full moon is about shadow working. And that shadow working that I do is actually more of that Sankofa healing, where you look back to redo something, to unlearn and rewrite something and retrieve what is new out of that and bring that forward. That's more like shadow working. And so I just noticed the difference, and I wanted to share that with you. So thank you for sending that to me. That image alone, it sparked so much. It had me like reforming how I'm even probably going to be doing my workshops. So thank you for that Sankofa rectification or realization. With that said, maybe what Spirit wanted me to see. Wow, powerful Queen. You're welcome. We're welcome. Thank you. Spirit wanted me to see that because I had to take a double look. Like, look at this Sankofa bird. So there's a difference, and both of them work. Either way, we're looking back and there's something new that is being carried, whether it's being carried into it or it's retrieved from it. Right? So with that said, let's go ahead and Sankofa, because this Sankofa I think you're gonna like. The topic is called the white inferiority complex. And why I'm saying that, because a lot of times what I want us to go back, this is a Sankofa back, by the way, because we need to go back and rewrite this. This goes to why we call, how am I going to look at this now? You know what? I'm going to call this a Sankofa forward. It could work either way depending on how you look at it. But this is something that came up to me today as we were speaking in our conversation, and realizing that we were talking about we actually were talking about slavery. So when we Sankofa in the boat and go back, you're going to see as we go back. Let's go in our boat. Or, hey, maybe boat is too sensitive. I don't know. However you want to look at it. Let's astro travel. Either way, let's go back. And we're going to go back till around the time that slavery began. Right? And so the topic that we were talking about, I'm going to carry you through that and then bring you to where we got to talking about the white inferiority complex. So we were going back and talking about the slavery being first Portuguese. We were actually talking about slavery in the islands, and how in Jamaica it was first the Spanish before England had it. Spain had it first, as well with a lot of countries. Spain had all of Hispaniola before the French got their little half and they cut of it, now being Haiti today. But the Spanish had a lot of that region. A lot of the islands, as you can see, were Spanish first. Even those like Trinidad and all them type of islands, all them other islands, it's like Spanish kind of was dominating. But before Spanish, what a lot of people tend to not realize is there was Portugal. And this is how I talk about it. Portugal started the pissing contest. This is what I call it. I call it the European pissing contest, because this is some ego patriarchal stuff, and they all fighting for who's better, who could conquer what first or whatever. Portugal started it. That first, what is it? Something castle on the west coast of Africa. I keep forgetting the name, but it was Portugal that started that first. So all of that was Portuguese, and then Portugal were the first ones over here. And they came into, as you see, Brazil. Brazil was their first, that area right there. That's why they still have that on lock to this day. And then Spain came right behind them, and Spain dominated. Spain was dominating a lot of the conquistadores and all of them. Spain was dominating. And that's why you see so much of Spanish colonization all the way to South America, the middle of Americas, and they dominated the islands first. But it's like they wasn't really doing much with the islands, and so England came in and dominated and pretty much took over all those islands. They found those to be the jewel of the crown, right? Good night, Tate. Peace, love, and light. Welcome in. So we're talking about this, and as we're breaking this down and talking about this, because not everybody realizes that Portuguese started it first. They just got outdone. They lost the pissing contest, right? They started the pissing contest, but they lost. And eventually, England ended up dominating, as you can see, most of the colonization, right? So in that, as we're speaking about that, it was mentioned, why is it that we're looking at these different things? It's all, one thing, one white supremacist, like it's all under the institution of white supremacy. All of the Europeans in itself, no matter who they are, they all had the same idea, the same mission to conquer, to dominate. Even as there was slavery on the East first, before the West slavery that everybody knows about, there was also that slavery on the East with the Arabs. They were already trading slaves over there and carrying them over to China and all of that stuff. So there was a whole different type of slavery going on over there already. And again, even when you say Middle East, we have to remember too that that's white persuasion. That's the Caucasian persuasion as well. Because if you look at biblical times, there was all kind of wars going on there because, of course, the Europeans were infiltrating over there too. And they were dominating over there. That's how things became a Persia and a Assyria and all of that. That stuff of mixing from them coming out of there, mixing with, because that was Africa. All of that Middle East that they call that was all Africans was up in there too. That was Africa. It's like they kind of pushed them a bit further down, but that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother geographic explanation. But we have to remember that. So that's why they look so brown like people, right? It just means that the Europeans kind of really dominated over there, just like they dominate kind of like North Africa. And the top of North Africa looks more like what? Middle Easterns, right? So with that said, that's just understanding that dynamic. But what we need to look at is the whole thing is that they're all under this conquering thing of dominating of this, as it was said, a white supremacist system. And as that was said, I corrected and was like, you mean the white inferiority complex? And so we have to realize why I'm saying that. We have to understand and remember and know words have power. Words are spells. They do spells on us all the time. So be careful with our words, right? So when we're saying white supremacist system, and all of us do this, we all do it. All melanated people, everybody that talks about it says we're in this white supremacist system, or we're oppressed by this white supremacist system. It's really a white inferiority complex. Call it what it is, right? Some of us know this. Some of us, let me see what he said. Thank you. You welcome. Barbaric. I think it's Barbaric Wars. That's what I'm seeing. My phone kind of messed up at the bottom. I really need to fix this. But the system, the white supremacist system that they want to call it, most of us, some of us, let me not say most of us, some of us already know that it is coming from a white inferiority complex. They call themselves white supremacists to give the illusion that they are supreme. But deep down, there is fear there. They fear the annihilation. This is coming from way back. I'm not talking about today, but yes, it's carried on today. They fear the annihilation. They fear the domination and dominant dominion. They fear being dominated, annihilated, all of that. So there is an inferiority complex, and out of that inferiority complex of truly being inferior in this world, because most of this world is non-white. All other races, whatever you want to call them, Indian, Chinese, whatever, even the Arabs, they're all non-white. So really, when you look at it, white is the minority. Non-white is the majority, whether they're African, black, whether they're brown as in other people, but it is the majority of the world. So there is a minority complex that is being had. So we have to be careful when we say this white supremacist system. We got to call it what it is. Even though in appearances it looks like, they're dominating everything. We have to hold firm to the truth that it is a complex. You are not the superior. You are actually operating out of an inferiority complex. And it's not to diminish nobody. It's not to say less than, better than, but it's for us to know the truth. Because a lot of us, melanated people especially, who don't know better, are walking around and repeating this. And we continue the fear. We continue the illusion of the superiority. And we don't, and it holds us down and keeps us from believing in who we really are. And so I say that so that we remember and understand this whole illusion of the superiority thing, right? And as I spoke about this, I have to say this, because what also came up was that there will be some whites today that say, oh, no, that's not it. It's not a inferiority complex, I don't have that. Or they may say, I don't think I'm supreme. I don't think, because they're going to say, oh, I'm not racist, I don't think I'm supreme. And a lot of them don't understand that you may say that you're not, but you are a product. And let me be clear, you are a product of the white supremacist system, the inferiority complex. You are a product of that institution, the mass production of what that institution has produced in this world today, as it stands today. And you are benefiting from that. Your privileges and everything that you get from it is based on that institution that was set in place, that comes out of that whole inferiority complex. And until you admit it, you are not truly healing. You are bypassing. And this is the problem that we're having even in today as we bring this forward. You're not truly healing in the world. So even when we have racial conversations, and there are some of them, like I have to just be honest and say, if you're not a Jane Elliott, and those of you who know Jane Elliott, if you're not a Jane Elliott, you're not, if you're not a Jane Elliott, you're not really about uplifting and coming through the healing of the ancestral trauma, because that's truly your ancestral trauma. I'm talking to the Caucasian side of it, because we all have our ancestral trauma, and their ancestral trauma is the fact that they're not willing to recognize this inferiority complex. They're either in denial that it even exists, and they say, no, we are the superior race. We don't have no inferiority complex. That's a denial. Or they may be on the other side where they're saying, I don't even think I'm superior. I believe that we're all equal. And I must say and be honest, you have to be honest to yourself. If you're saying either one of those, you are lying to yourselves. And you're not really looking at the true healing that needs to be done in your ancestral healing of undoing the mass production of this illusion of white supremacy. They have set up a whole world of how we exist right now. This is why there is so much injustice, and it can't be undone until those who are in office and stuff like that, those who are pulling together, those who work with them, those who are living off of the privileges, until they wake up and realize and say, hey, we have an inferiority complex. Until you admit it, until you go and say, hey, my name is Jim and I'm an alcoholic. Until you admit that, the true work will never be done. And so I say that so that we really understand these privileges that are in place, and that even the melanated people understand how you are operating out of this system that has been set, because you have been fooled to believe in this superiority, this illusion of superiority, and you're trying your best because, like Malcolm X said, who told you to hate yourself? You don't know yourself and love yourself enough, so you're always trying to be and look like them, because it has been programmed in your brain that this is superior. So you do not love yourself, and you're always trying to be what they impose on society that you should be, which is unlike you. They don't want you to remember you and who you are and where you come from. And until we honestly look at that, this is what we have to go back and realize. So when we go back, when we Sankofa back and we're looking back, we have to realize where all of this is stemming from, and where each of us stand on either side of the fence, whether you're black or white. You have to understand you have to know your understanding of this complex, of the white inferior complex that keeps either party on either side. Either way, it's holding us back from ourselves, from our true selves. Because the whites will never know if they don't look this deep. There are some that do, but there are very few. Like I say, I can always give you Jane Elliott. And there are a few like personal whites that I know that are willing to look into these depths and know what the ancestors have set up, what their ancestors have set up, that till this day they are still in privilege of, and I could give you a simple example. I could bring this forward, and I'll give you, before I give the example, let me see what Clay say. We have to submit our belief into our knowing as we submit our ego to our intuition to see and uphold the order of who is dominant and who is recessive. Ooh, that's deep. I don't think they ready for that, Clay. I don't think they ready for that. And I know Facebook gonna mess with this one, because I already see stuff chipping in and out. Like, Miss Renata, I know you there, but I already see, I think they're gonna cut in and out. Like, I already know some people getting cut in and out. Just chip back in. You get cut off, just chip back in. But yes, we have to submit our ego. And let me explain why this is being said. Because the ego is usually the masculine energy. And I don't know, let me see if y'all can follow me with this one. This one kind of deep. The ego is usually the masculine energy. The intuition is usually the feminine energy. Now let me show y'all this. This is just with masculine and feminine, right? This also parallels to the races. The white race has been representing the masculine patriarchal energy. The masculine energy being the ego. The white race has been the egoic version. And I'm not saying ego, and y'all know I don't mean ego to be bad. I'm just being real on what it is. And the black race represents more of the intuition and the feminine aspect. That is why these non-white races have always been connected to Mother Earth. Look at it. You do your research. You will see. They have always been the indigenous people of this land. All of the non-whites, they've always had a connection to Mother Earth, the feminine aspect. Has nothing to do with gender, but I'm just showing you masculine, feminine energy, right? I'm showing you the dualities and how they are kind of synonymous even with the races. So if you look at the races as that belongs to one of these energies, the white race would belong to the masculine energy. The black race would belong to the feminine energy. If we look at this in consciousness, that would be conscious being masculine, subconscious being feminine, thinking being masculine, feeling being feminine, right? All of this ties together. So what he's saying is, if we submit our ego into the intuition, that means submit these masculine energies into the intuition. I know we tend to think that it is the woman that should submit to the man, but think about it. And in some ways it should, with all due respect. But think about who said that this is the way it's supposed to be. This is coming from the patriarchal rules, i.e. the ego, i.e. the white race, that took out the feminine aspect out of the Trinity, right? That took out mother, father, son, mother, father, child, right? The Ankh. They took out that loop. They took out the womb. They took out the womb man, right? That's the feminine energy. And they gave you what? A cross. Sword and sword. They're giving you all masculine. So they are the ones that are saying that the woman should submit. But that information is wrong, right? It is the masculine that needs to submit. This is why I always say check in the ego. The ego has to check in order for the intuition to release. So submitting, not meaning that anybody is less than, but for the ego to say, okay, let me check in. Let me stop moving around and being so active. Let me stop and check into the feminine so I can listen to the compass, so I can get the intuition, so I can do what? Get the instructions. Because it is the womb that we come through the universe. So the womb man has the direct connection to the divine, to the superconscious. So with that said, It's not one who's better than, less than, because guess what? We are all of it. We are all masculine, feminine, and the divine. We are all conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. We're all of that within our oneness. But we have to when we look at the breakdown of it, we have to also respect the divine order of it. And this is just the order. The feminine, the womb man, is connected to the divine. So how do you get your instructions? If the womb is through which we come through the ethers, through which we come through the universe, it is more connected to getting instructions from the universe, right? So we need to submit to the womb in order to listen to the instructions. Put your ear to the womb. Listen. And multi-dimensional beings. And so this is all about respecting the order. Now take what I've said and apply that now to the races. It's not a better than, less than, but it is the non-whites that have the connection, the intuition into the earth. And it is for those who are the white race, the egoic more type of race, for them to submit and listen, not to be slaves, see, this is what they try to do, reverse it and make us slaves because of what? The inferiority complex. They have a problem feeling disconnected from the divine. And in a sense, they're having a tantrum. They've been having a tantrum for years because they feel left out. Just like even the men, the masculine. The men are wanting to be so patriarchal because you feel like you're disconnected from the divine, but you're not. You are very connected. It is just that the womb man is the passage through which, right? And it doesn't make her any better. It doesn't make the black race any better. We're all one. But when we recognize our place in it, we fall in line and we're not out of order. And then out of order things are not happening, i.e. slavery, i.e. gender problems, i.e. racial problems, all of this other stuff. So I say all of that to say with the Caucasian persuasion, that it was just for them to submit, as what Clay was saying, submit and check in your ego just so you can listen to the intuition, so we could be a cohesive human race together, because we have something that we share with each other. And then when you get the instructions, if we're working together, rather than you trying to dominate out of fear, you take the instructions and then you can help lay out what to do, because the ego is about the will to do and the action. You can help share that with us so that we can work together. So fear not the information. What happens is, and this is how they even fell into slavery, what happens is they come in and they see, oh wow, shit, they're connected to the cosmos. They got all this information. Look at their civilization. Look at Kemet. Look at this. Look at all these great kings. Look at what they're doing. They got the information. And instead of them submitting and checking into that so that we can work together as one, and you can take that information and we can do much more and expand on it together as a human race. Instead of doing that, what do? They fall into their inferiority complex. And then they figure, we got to dominate. We got to make them not know who they are. We got to conquer and divide. We got to separate, break them up, make them lose their information, make them forget who they are. We gotta drag them all the way to their root chakra as a collective. We got to disconnect them from their roots so they have no clue who they are, so they can fall for our illusion of superiority in this world, and so that they can carry it on to their genes, carry it on and on into their future generations. Hence why we are fooled until today. So now our children today, the people of today, we have our own people today that are lost to it as well, because they believe in the illusion of the superiority words of saying that they are the superior ones. And then we feel disempowered. A lot of blacks walk around, oh, we can't do nothing, they're in charge. But you keep making them be in charge, because you keep saying superior. You keep saying they are the white supremacist. We're not saying that we're not calling it what it is. That's an illusion. What's real is that it is a white inferiority complex that they are working through, and only them can break themselves from it. But we have to break ourselves from believing in the illusion of the supremacy, because there is no supremacy in what they're doing. Nothing that they have done has been deemed worthy of being supreme. Think about the word supreme. Supreme being. A divine is supreme. We are supreme. But to do what they have done for hundreds of years, to disconnect, dismember a set of people, to wipe out a set of people on their land here on the American plot, to wipe out to do a whole complete genocide, and got the nerve to talk about Hitler? Nobody wants to say it. Yeah, they're going to say it's some anti-Semitic crap. I don't care. I'm not scared. I ain't got no big following. I'm good. They want to talk about Hitler being the genocide. No, they're the biggest, baddest. And I'm, again, not saying it to down them, but we got to look at the truth. This is when we go back and we got to look at it and bring it forward. Who is really creating the genocide? That's not supreme. There's nothing supreme about that because you debowed some land. Because you debowed some people off of their land. Y'all know what I mean by debo. Those of you who watch Friday, I know you got it. We should have never even fucked with them from jump. Exactly. But this is coming from us not knowing ourselves, Queen. This is why I say slavery is my conviction. Those of us who came from slavery. Because yes, I understand all of us didn't come from that. Please remember, we had black people here before Columbus even set foot here. But those of us that have been in the captivity, that have come through the passage of that, we have to remember that slavery is our conviction. And so we have a part to play in it too. We can't just blame them. We got to do our ancestral work. And we have to remember that unification outnumbers defeat, so that we can pull it together even here. Unify yourself in all types of manner, including in this phrase of calling it white supremacy. Start bringing your thoughts together. Correct people when you hear them say it. Nah, bruh. Nah, ain't nothing supreme about that. That's a white inferiority complex institution that was set up. Call it what it is. Because then when we call it what it is, then it's going to even force them to be holding themselves even more accountable. And when the whites who truly know this call it what it is, then it's going to call them to be more responsible as well. We call all of us to be more responsible. When we call it what it is, we call our own people to break free from the shackles of that illusion and call it what it is. Take back your strength. Take back your freedom, because we're shackled up here. As long as you believe in them and that illusion of the superiority institution, that white supremacist system, as you're shackled up here. And you keep holding the shackle tighter when you keep carrying that on. Even those who are woke and talking about it in a way and saying, yep, it's because of this white supremacist system. Nope, you're locking the shackles in your mind. You're helping to lock that in. Programming. We got to look at that. You are programming yourself, and you're continuing to program your fellow brothers and sisters, and you're continuing to program your children and the future generations to believing in this illusion of this superiority, this white supremacist institution. So we have to break those shackles in our mind and take back our power. This is how you come from being disempowered. Take back your power. They can't have power if you don't give it to them. And those who are on that side of the fence, they have to call it what it is so that they can wake up from the slumbers, realize that your privileges that you live in today come from that mass production of the illusion of the white supremacist system. Realize that, recognize that, and then you can do your true healing to really be where you say you want to be. It's not just about saying, I'm not racist, I got 10 black friends, I don't believe in this. And that may be true. You may not be racist. But at the same time, you're not doing anything to remove the racist system. Because racist is about those people having power over another race. That's a racist. It has nothing to do with being prejudiced. Being prejudiced and being racist is two different things. So blacks, you cannot be racist because you don't have the power. I'm not taking any power for you. I truly believe we are all powerful. But because we are not operating in our power collectively, then as it's showing up in the world, we don't really have that power, because you've given that power collectively over to the illusion of the white supremacist system. So you cannot be racist. You can be prejudiced, but you can't be racist. And for those whites that want to help break the racist system, it's going to first take realizing that you're coming from a white inferiority complex. Seek that, dig deep, and find that in your ancestors, and then you can bring that forward in your Sankofa healing. As you look back and retrieve something, you need to retrieve that and bring it forward and say, okay, what do we do now? Our ancestors have produced some stuff that we're benefiting from now that comes from an inferiority complex. What do we do now? How can we change this? If you so choose to, if you're really that willing to be new and to be broken away from that, then that's what it's going to take. So, yep, that's the skinny on the skinny, coming from the skinny mini. I don't know where that came from, but it came from me. That's where it came from. It came from me. So with that said, oh, let me see what Miss Renata said. I do see something here. We should have, oh, no, I see that. There's something Clay said. One race holding supremacy is an illusion. Exactly. There is no race that is supreme. That's why I didn't want to say even that we are the supreme race, just because of the part when I talked about the submitting to that intuition, which we represent the intuition being that we're connected to Mother Earth in that way. It still doesn't make us a supreme race over another. We're all one. We're all human race, and it's for us to coexist and have a social ability together onto one another, interconnectivity. So I don't promote any supreme on either side. There's only one supreme being, that's the divine, the most high, I am that I am, and it, capital IT, exists in all of us, individually and collectively. And I'm gonna leave it right there. So that's the truth on the white inferiority complex, breaking the illusion of the white supremacist system has no reality in truth. And so it is. So with that said, thank you. I know you like this one, Miss Renata. This one brought to you just for Miss Renata and by Miss Renata. And of course for all of you too that love Sankofa. But Miss Renata really be like, where the Sankofa at? So here it is, my love and my beloveds. Yasef, you finally reached in. We now are reprogramming ourselves in truth. And that's the focus. Period. As they say. Period, right? I'm in it. I'm in these streets out here too, y'all. I'm in these streets. Is that my star? Oh, no. It's a plane. It's a bird. It's a plane. Let me give y'all some moon action. There it is. So happy full moon when it comes. Happy Sankofa Sunday. I gave it to you. Each one, reach one, teach one. If you don't know where to start in your big, beautiful heart. Shine your light from the inside out. Be the candle that lights the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And please Sankofa and continue to liberate your mind.